Welcome to the Honeymoon Mindset podcast. Even with kids, you can have a honeymoon mindset. We are your hosts,
Kimberly Mullen.
and James Deppa. Good morning, everybody, or good day, I should say. Welcome to an episode of Honeymoon Mindset with Kids. I am James, and our co-host is...
Kimberly.
Yay, how are you doing, Kimberly?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you, James?
I'm doing okay. So we were
Good.
talking right before the show about my last couple of days and how crazy it's been. Yesterday morning, my son, who's working at the state fair, calls me in the morning and says, "Dad, I need your help." Usually he doesn't call me, first off, which is fine. He's busy. He's a teenager. He says, "I need your help. What's wrong? Did you get in trouble at the fair? Did something happen to you? What's going on?" He says, "No. The baby ducklings," because he's working in the Miracle Birth Center. It's only for FAA people which is Future Farmers of America, groups in high schools and stuff to help keep farming alive and active. And so they can work at the state fair in the Miracle Birth Center because they have the knowledge and the training, and it helps them for events during the school year. So he's up there working, and all of a sudden these baby ducklings that they have on display are too old. And the director says they need to go. And didn't give anybody really much notice or anything, so my son says he would take them. So I had to scramble, figure out how to get these ducklings home, how to keep them safe, because we have a cat that would love to have a little duckling snack. So it's like, and plus we have predators in the area, so it's figuring this all out. Plus, from my other job, I'm a bus driver, so I have a bus trip yesterday afternoon. So it's like, how am I going to get this all done? I figured it out.
Right.
So instead of figuring it out, putting my kid down, calling him names, and figuring stuff out, how easy that would have been.
Right.
And blame him. And no, I went with the flow. I figured it out, and I made his day. And now I got 10 cute little ducklings in my shed that I get to enjoy until he needs to take them back to his mom's. But how easy would it have been to label my kid with name calling?
Right.
You know, that's something you wanted to talk about today, Kimberly. And as we started the intro, it's like that would have been, this is a perfect segue into that. I didn't put him down. I didn't call him stupid or crazy or you idiot. Label him.
How could you commit to this?
Yeah. You said yes before talking to me, or did you even talk to your mom, make sure she wants him at her place?
Right.
You know? No, we made it work. I respected him, and I know he has a love for animals, so we made it happen. But how easy would be normal, everyday people get caught up in the moment, caught up in the stress, to start labeling their kids.
And, totally.
And what would that...
I love that you saw his heart, and that was more important than
and
worrying about how you were going to make it work.
Right. And how easy would it have been, like I just said, to label him with one of those names, and what would that have done to him?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's...
And we as parents, we do it unconsciously so much, and it is something that we really need to be aware of because it is very harmful to their psyche.
Yes, it is. Calling them idiots, calling them crazy, stupid. You get caught up in that moment, the stress or the busyness of everyday life.
You do.
And what does that do to the child?
Yeah, just yesterday, my kids have friends in this campground we're staying at, and the kids have a tire swing next to their trailer. And the kids were all on it, and the tree accidentally broke. And my kids are nature-loving kids, and those kids must be too, because they all felt horrible, and they decided to have a memorial for the tree.
Fun.
the other kid's father had chopped it up so it wasn't in the way or dangerous, and they took those pieces and they made a memorial to it, and it was so sweet. They have the tire swing in it. One of the other kids wrote a nice poem and put it there. They all gave little gifts, and super sweet. And then the mom came home and looked at it and was like, "You kids are ridiculous."
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell if she was kidding or not, but I just kind of looked at her and I was like, "Isn't that the sweetest thing ever?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they so generous and sweet and not like?" I was just like, "Oh, come on, be kind.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Here the
Don't make them
kids are
feel bad for having hearts."
exactly. And that's what we want kids to do. We want them to be love caring adults later in life, and it starts now when something happens.
Absolutely.
They could be, yeah, whatever. It was just a tree. But no, it's like,
You're so right.
and it's something that they could enjoy or have been enjoying, and something wrong. And the other thing that, as you're telling that story, is they took immediate responsibility for what happened. They could have said,
Yes.
"Yep, nope, we didn't do it. I don't know what happened to the tree." It's like, I don't know, it just broke. Maybe the wind did it or something.
Yeah, they felt horrible.
Yeah, so they,
And,
yeah,
I let them know it was an accident. Please don't feel bad about it. And then when they said they were going to do the memorial, I just, like, my heart swelled. I was like, "That's so sweet. You guys are great kids."
yeah, exactly. Because what else? Yeah, they're having fun in a tree. They're being kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know,
Exactly.
same thing with kids is even when we get name called or labeled,
Mm-hmm.
what does that do to a kid? How does that
Yeah.
affect a child?
So I was doing some research for this week's article, and this is stuff I already knew, but it's so nice to like have it validated. And I was reading this article from YaeBin Kim. She's a parent educator, and she was talking about the dangers of labeling your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is it affects the way they view themselves.
Oh, yes.
It becomes part of their identity. It puts them in a box. And kids are constantly growing and changing, but once you label them, you're stunting their growth and you're putting them in that box so they can't, because they're just like, "Oh, that's what I am. If my adult in my life tells me that's what I am, that must be what I am."
Mm-hmm.
And they stop trying to be, you know, they stop their growth. They stop exploring and looking into different interests, and they're just like, "Oh, okay, I'm a picky eater. I don't like to try things. Okay, I'm not going to try anything.
Yeah.
I'm shy. I don't like to talk to people. Okay, even though I want to talk to that person over there, I've been told I don't do that, so I'm not gonna."
Right. Exactly.
So that's number one. Number two, it influences the way others treat them too. Their teachers, their
Oh,
babysitters,
yeah. Yeah.
other members of the family. If they're being told this child is difficult, the teacher's going to expect them to be difficult for them. They're going to expect less from them.
So now,
Or if they're told this child is an overachiever, they're going to expect more than maybe the child can really give.
oh, geez. And that
And that
really,
is a backlash.
oh, yeah. That there turns into self esteem issues later because they're always self conscious or they have that. They
Exactly.
have that perfectionist mindset, which there
Mm-hmm.
is, you and I both know, and I've seen your post, and I've talked about it too on posts on Facebook and Instagram. There's no such thing as perfect. Perfect is a made up thing, and it's a stressor that we make ourselves.
Exactly. And then we put way too much pressure on ourselves. It holds us back from doing so much because if we can't do it perfect, we're not going to do it.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing you're saying is about kids is talking about how teachers affect kids or view it.
Mm-hmm.
How does those labels, totally unintentional, totally uncreated, but just naturally inside in society where, oh, you live where?
Mm.
It's or oh, your mom or dad work where? How do those?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's nothing the kid did. You already
Right.
automatically get labeled there.
Absolutely. it really limits a child's potential because they start viewing, oh, well, if my parent works here or I live in this neighborhood, I'm limited.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to ever be rich. I'm never going to exceed and excel in life. And they just take that on and they accept it. And okay, well, I'll just be this, low class or middle class person the rest of my life.
Right. Have you ever seen the movie Rudy?
Yes,
That's a great
such a good
movie.
movie.
And what's the one thing that the dad says? Because Rudy has a couple brothers. He says, "Nope, you're why? Why try? You're just going to be working in the coal plant or the steel plant just like me, just like your brothers."
Hmm. That's so sad.
But yet, Rudy, he was faced with it in the movie. He could have given in. But his biggest dream of all was to play for the Fighting Irish, the Notre Dame
Hmm.
Fighting Irish. And I think there was a time in the movie where he gave up on that dream to work in the plant. But
Yes.
yeah, he wasn't happy. He was miserable.
You you see how easily
Mm-hmm.
these limiting beliefs get passed down from generation to generation because that was the father's limiting belief that he took on for himself that was passed down to him. And he just naturally, with no bad intention,
Mm-hmm.
was passing it down to Rudy, who thankfully was able to break it in the end, but
Right.
he easily could have just got stuck in that mill forever, too.
But I'm not saying the dad did anything wrong because
No,
that's what his dad did. That's what his granddad did before they came to the
exactly.
country. And that's where you've said before, you've got to break your patterns in the past. We get so crazed up in labels and
Yes,
stuff like that, it affects our kids. The other person I
absolutely.
think of is Steve Harvey. His story.
Hmm.
He, quote unquote, grew up on the wrong side of the tracks,
Right.
had a stutter. Dad didn't approve because I don't know if his dad was in the picture much. I don't know for sure. But his mom is, no, do what you want to do. If you want to do it, but what are you going to do with your stutter? What are you going to do with this?
Right.
And now look where Steve Harvey is today.
Yep. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
It just made me think about when you said wrong side of the tracks, the movie 8 Mile with Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the ending of that movie where he just turns it all around. And it's like, yeah, I live on the wrong side of the tracks. Yeah. My mom does drugs and does this and does that. So what?
Yeah.
That's not going to stop me. And the other guy's like, I don't even know what to say to that. Okay.
Yeah. I worked as a paraprofessional in the high school level here where I live. And I saw it. A lot of these kids, it's like, it was in a cooking class, which broke my heart. They had a visitor in from one of the colleges in the cities. I live in Minnesota, outside of
Hmm.
the Twin Cities area, and they had one of the schools that have a major cooking program come down and tell them all the different things they can do in the cooking world. The teacher asked, "What do you want to do?" And one kid actually said this: "I'm going to do nothing but live off of the government."
Oh, wow.
He's like, "Why do I need to do anything? That's what my parents do. Why are we encouraging our kids in some of these societies with the label that's there to live off of the government?" And then some of these other kids, he's like, "Why? I don't need to learn to read or write. I'm just going to end up in jail, just like with my dad and my mom and everybody else."
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
why do we let this not take responsibility as parents to encourage our kids to dream big and to achieve some of those dreams, not to end up the way, well, this is the way it has been and always will be. Why change it?
Sadly, it sounds like, again, the limiting beliefs being passed down where their parents are telling them this is how it is. we don't do any better than this in this family, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So sad.
It is. So now, encouraging kids. I don't know if you've read the book, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
No.
He says, yeah, and I'm pretty sure Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, I know they think the same way, and I think they've talked about it too. For our kids, let them dream big.
Mm-hmm.
Get those big dreams. I know one of my dreams as a kid was to be a football player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the typical, well, only the best of the best and the best of the best get in to
Right.
play in the NFL. Okay. So you're never going to make it. What else do you want to do? Well, encourage them.
That's so sad.
Encourage kids. And it bothered me. And even as I was starting out in my corporate world, professional world, well, you want your goals to be achievable. So you can always look like achievable. How do you like it, a kid making those, oh, one day I want to be a professional football player or astronaut or a pilot or a doctor?
My kids are so young right now that I don't bring any logic or reasoning into it at this point. At this point, I encourage everything they say because I don't know yet who they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
and what they're going to do and what they're capable of. Now, maybe as they get older and into their late teens, early 20s, even then, I think that's still so young to know what you want to do with the rest of your life. I mean, I'm in my 40s and I've changed my mind a few times over, had different careers.
Yeah, I've been there.
But there is a way to encourage them still to absolutely go for it and have backup plans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if your parents didn't fully believe you could be a football star, they could still have encouraged you to go for it. And well, what do you want to study while you're going for this?
Right, exactly.
Not, oh, you're never going to make it, so you have to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
We so limit our child's potential, and like you said, it's not on purpose. But even positive labels, even
Yeah,
telling a kid, you're my athletic kid, you're my artistic kid,
right, yes.
then they think that's all they are. And you should really encourage them to explore many interests. You can
Mm-hmm.
be athletic and a scholar and artistic. You don't have to be one or the other.
Right. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, those labels, like you said, even the positive ones, can have a negative effect on kids.
yeah,
You know,
I honestly see now how I have done that to my oldest daughter
mm,
because she is literally the kindest person I've ever met, has the most empathy, just loves people unconditionally. And so I'm constantly telling her, you're the kindest person I ever met. I love your heart so much. And so then when she does something that people would say is mean,
mm-hmm.
she really feels horrible about herself.
Right.
And now I have to sit there going, honey, you're human. We all do things that, we regret or that can be labeled as mean, or that doesn't mean you're a mean person. But I've
Right.
told her so much she's a kind person that she's like, how could I do that? So that's, something we're backtracking and working on. And we're all human. We all do
Mm-hmm.
kind things and we all do mean things unintentionally. And
Right. How many times some of those labels get taken or automatically put in or that a kid puts on themselves
mm-hmm.
by their own actions or by how we react to things as their parents or teachers or whoever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you didn't say anything mean or bad, but they're taking it like your daughter who's so sensitive at times about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who she is, and no, she isn't, and she's putting a label on herself.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's really hard as a parent to hear your kids say stuff like, I'm so stupid, or I'm a
Mm-hmm.
mean person, or. And, all you can do is talk to them about how, no, your one action or one behavior does not equal who you are.
Yeah.
And I was reading a blog post recently by the Pragmatic parent about labeling kids. And the best way we can correct that is to condition ourselves to, instead of labeling the child, label the behavior.
Right.
Just name what the behavior was, and never say you're a bad kid. Say, that wasn't a really nice thing you just did. Or
Right. Yeah.
I don't even like to say that was a bad thing, but that would still be better than you're a bad kid.
Right. Right. Yeah.
um,
Even with experiences too. If they didn't have that experience, well, don't let that experience ruin or let it become who you are. It's
exactly.
just that one experience. I know.
Yep.
Even with Beth's kids, they weren't didn't her youngest didn't have the easiest time in school. But it's like, well, you're not a dumb kid. You're stop saying you're dumb. You don't get, well, I can't pass this grade, or I know it and everything, but then it come up to the test and it's like I bomb all these tests, so it hurts my grade. Yeah. Well, obviously you know the stuff to get decent marks during the week on your assignments. So you have a little test anxiety. So what? That doesn't make you a dumb kid in school. Quit calling it. But I have all this and I can't do. No. But where do you excel at? Just because you can't sit in a classroom, traditional classroom idea of learning, there's a lot of different things. Even when I was a paraprofessional, I saw that too. Some kids struggled in school.
Absolutely.
But some of these kids are just like, what kind of motor you got under there? It's like, I don't know. Well, if you do this or this, you can probably get a couple more horsepower out of that, which is going to save you gas mileage, which is going to be like,
right.
Or for animals, it's like someone come in and start talking about this type of animal, that type of animal, but then in school they struggle. Well, that's not where their passion is. So it's like,
right.
As a professional, I'm supposed to help them with their learning experience, help them get the most out of it. So it's like, well, you really like engines. Well, let's find some books for you to read on engines, because you're going to have to learn how to read so you know how to fix engines or when new schematics come out.
Right.
Or if you like
Everyone excels at different things.
Yeah, so it's picking up on those things when I was a paraprofessional and help them get those interests peak so they're even more interested. I had one girl that was interested in photography.
Awesome.
We started a photography club at the high school.
That's so cool.
And she learned it. And I see her now once in a while on the street and she's like, yeah, I still use the tips. I still do this and this with photography. It's like success right there.
That's so great. And that is the best way to encourage a child, is to figure out what they're good at and help them learn it and excel better at it. And it's a tough system to navigate for many children, unfortunately.
So I guess from this whole idea of labeling our kids, it affects our kids. And sometimes they put it on themselves without us doing it, without teachers doing it. But where do they even learn that?
By watching their parents label themselves. How many times have you heard your parents say, oh, that was a stupid thing I just did? Oh, why would I do that?
And also from more so nowadays, social media.
Oh, yes.
TV, what they listen to on the radio or on their Spotify account or whatever is out there now. I would say even more so. It's probably more so social media and TV and movies than parents.
My kids aren't on that yet, so yeah, you would have a much better understanding of that than I.
I'm not saying us parents aren't guilt-free there, because I know I've done it and said stuff, and like you said yourself,
because it's just an unconscious reaction. Yeah. But that's the thing, is to start really being aware of the way you speak about yourself in front of your children, the way you speak of other people. Like, I have a really hard time when I'm with my kids and I'm around somebody who's kind of bashing other people or calling other people idiots or something, and I'm like, I really don't want to talk that way in front of my children, so come along, children. It's not okay to label other people in front of your children. It's not okay to label yourself.
Yeah.
really, really do your best to avoid using words like never or always, like, oh, you always do that. You
Exactly.
never cooperate, you know,
Yep.
because that's not true. Nobody never does something, nobody always does something.
Right. Right.
And so we have to really, really be careful of using what words we use, and we have to be really careful to not label the child, label the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, that was a really, you're being really kind, you're being helpful, instead of saying you're a kind person.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of Honeymoon Mindset with kids. When you listen with your heart, you'll make your relationship bloom to that honeymoon mindset.
100%.
Yep, 100%. And enjoy your kids.
Goodbye, everyone.